It's the Wex Appeal podcast. Barbells, beats, and buffoonery.
3, 2, 1, go! Here we go.
Dope conversations.
Damn, that's my Genghis Khan.
Where fitness, pop culture, and a lot of random buffoonery collide.
I'm coming for you.
It's ridiculous, really,
Hashtag space war.
but amusing.
Wex, you laughed least at me, so you get to go next.
Here's your host, Wex.
I was going to say I blacked out during the explanation. I just heard Spaceball.
Clips are where it's at. You know, I had two bangers that were a little bit controversial. I did one with Fauci early on. You know, and you talk about a 45
with him or as him?
You know, me doing Fauci.
Yeah.
And I'm Tony Fauci. I know I told you, you know, I know I told you if you had 2 shots and a booster, you'd be dancing in the street, but I missed it by a little bit. A guy could have 10 vaccines, 13 boosters, and give COVID to another guy with 20 vaccines and 12 boosters. That's why I'm introducing Tony's Daily Shot. Every day you go to a healthcare provider, you get your shot. By the time you get to your car, you got no immunity, but it's a beautiful 39 seconds. So that was the clip. Sorry to go through the whole thing, but it was like, it's concise. And since it was a little incendiary or pithy or a little, you know, I was just kind of processing the environment and realizing that people were, well, I'll get the booster when I go on vacation. I'm going to wait because the window kept narrowing. And that was my take on that. And then the other one that went viral was just Biden saying there's no crisis at the border. and then saying, but I can, you know, there's no crisis at the border. And then he put a little reporter, our guy, Patrick Fogarty, puts a little reporter in with a mic up going, but you said, get your facts straight, Jack. I'll beat the hell out of you. Take you out about a woodshed. You're a dog-faced pony soldier. No one close the border faster than border better. Just can't believe it's not butter. So that was the second one. We'll try to get a third one today on your podcast.
Oh, I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and that's just a great way to segue into the intro to the show. My guest today is Dana Carvey, the absolute legend. I grew up watching, you know, a lot of your stuff on Saturday Night Live, and thank you so much for coming on the show and doing this.
Not a problem. This is so far it's my favorite podcast.
favorite podcast today.
Well, I did do a new one yesterday. We came out an example of those kinds of little things. Oh, no, it's not out yet, but you'll have to scoop on. I just, for some reason, I don't know, creativity, where it comes from, or even if it's any good, but I decided to do sort of Scooby-Doo and Shaggy in Tehran this past week. Like, Scoob, I don't think we should have taken our vacation to Tehran. Well, because Trump dropped a bunker buster on Fort Low Mountain. You know, it's like, let's get out of here. You know, they get attacked and stuff. So that's just sort of a mashup of the innocence of that cartoon with the heaviness of the story. So,
and you just jump into voices so easily. When did you realize that this was like a thing for you? Like, is it something you always like kind of worked on, or is it just something that you started to recognize?
It slowly grew. I don't really consider myself an impressionist like Rich Little or something, but I was able to throw my voice, and it sounds like a bit, but in 1964, the Beatles came out. Remember them?
Yep.
And then I started doing that kind of accent. We also had they released a album, Collier's Encyclopedia, a long playing album, and they were interviewing the Beatles on that as well. So I was like 9. I was having exposure to sort of this sort of accent, you know, we tried the best we can, you know, this sort of rhythm. And I was able to do that and really make my brothers laugh and friends, you know. And so that's kind of where it started. Weird, right?
Starts with the Beatles. It's funny. I went through the Beatles anthology because I had obviously grown up. You know, I was born well past the age of the Beatles.
I know that's the genius of the Beatles is it just keeps going.
Yeah,
you know?
but so I'd listened to a lot of it, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to it chronologically.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go to the first album and I'm going to listen to it like you would have listened to it, as it was
Mhm.
coming out.
That's cool.
And I started going through it, and I forget which album I was kind of wondering to myself, I wonder when the drugs really hit. And then I got to Revolver. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, right there.
Mhm.
That album just off the rails to me.
Right. Revolver is because kind of sometimes, the Beatle fans just want to talk about the Beatles. Conan O'Brien or J.J. Abrams, there's friends of mine that just have uh, insatiable appetite for it. And so sometimes all listen to different albums and have different opinions and different songs. But at one point, I did land on Revolver as kind of my favorite album.
Mhm.
It's kind of absurd to actually think of that, that there can be a favorite. That's how big a fan I am. But that was a special album. It had Tomorrow Never Knows on it,
Mhm.
which is very Lennon-y in terms that it's still in the future.
Yeah.
It hasn't arrived yet. Kind of like I'm a Walrus. You could play that, And I know you've probably seen all these young people who are listening to the Beatles online on YouTube channels, and they're like
Mhm.
they've never heard it and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And I don't know how they get the approval to use the song. I asked our guy, "Can we do that?" He says, "No."
They just haven't found them yet. Like,
I guess
um,
so. It's a
there
monetization thing or
yeah,
whatever.
and there was a whole thing, I actually listened to a podcast with, who was it? Oliver Anthony. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Mhm.
Rich Men from Richmond is the song that kinda went viral for
Oh,
him.
I know that song. Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
podcast?
Well, he was on, Joe
He
Rogan's
was on
podcast.
it. Okay.
Yeah, and he was talking about giving people rights to his music to react to it so that he could
Huh.
get the music out there and having to fight with his lawyers to say, "No, don't go after these people. I want them to react to it. Like, I wanna hear what they say. I want, them to
Yeah.
kinda get it out there and put it out there."
Yeah, incredible exposure. So, I'm not sure if the Beatles, I don't know. I mean, ha everyone's been selling their catalogs for gazillions of dollars, Bob Dylan and Springsteen. I don't know if the Beatles are for sale though, yet,
Yet,
you know?
everything has a price tag. Somebody somewhere owns it,
There
and
have been in commercials
yeah.
and background stuff like that, but, yeah, I've just gotten more possessed all the time, I've gotten into the early stuff because what I find interesting is that people would say, well, then Revolver, and then sort of Sergeant Pepper, and then you've got Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane, and that's when they got really good. And I've heard other people say that, but I go, their early 2-minute pop stuff,
Mhm.
they did that better than anybody else up to that time. She
Yeah.
Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and they're so the human beings who could think of that and rewrite it basically from the Beach Boys and Elvis, like create this new sound, were the same human beings like 4 years later that then would revolutionize, because of the happened circumstance, they couldn't tour anymore. So the first band to live in a studio. It used to be going really fast. Get it? We got it. Okay. They just live there. And
Yeah.
then you have the two hyper geniuses along with the other geniuses. But yeah, there you go. I'll talk about them as long as you
Oh,
want.
yeah. I love the Beatles, and I got, my kids listening to it. I like to let them listen to music that they, wouldn't listen to normally. Especially given today's music. I pretty much hate most of
Well,
it.
I try not to be an elitist about it, and there's lots of great music. I would just say the technology drives a lot of it, and
Mhm.
the once drums became artificial and keyboards became artificial, there was still great stuff going on, but it definitely changed. And then it became all digital, and then you could sample, and then you could use AI. So it's evolved out of something that you
Yeah.
you could say it's better, than what happened before, which is fine. It's just there are such a thing. They use a word called the Renaissance. And you could say Mozart in that era, the piano was only invented a few years before. So there was this newness to it that lasts today, and along with painting. And I do think the 60s was a renaissance, in terms of socially, the peace movement, the women got the pill, the Beatles came out and then evolved with the decade. So I would call it a Renaissance decade, and there'll be others. I haven't seen one yet, although I love Nirvana. I
Mhm.
love a lot of stuff, and I did one. about a few months ago, I said, okay, I got to understand Taylor Swift. She's so big.
Yeah.
So I went on YouTube, listened to her top 10 hits, and I got it. I said, yeah, she's beautiful writer, lyrics, and talk about speaking to your audience,
Yes.
the young girls and boy problems.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I have a 12-year-old who is, well, she was infatuated with Taylor Swift. Her infatuation moves from person to person. Now it's on to Benson Boone.
I know the guy in the unitard who jumps off the
Yes.
piano. Yeah, he's
guy.
really entertaining.
Yes, she is. She's all in on that. He just put out a new album, so that's what we're listening to in the car. She bounces, but T Swift is her go-to. That's who's the posters on the wall and all that. So I got to listen to a lot of it, and really what she's doing for music and for musicians, as far as taking back her music and re-recording it is again, like you said, revolutionary. Like it kind of goes into that. She's blazing trails that people before her didn't. So she's, helping them take their power back.
Well, and this is something I find fascinating because in the 70s, and you had, Led Zeppelin spilled over in there. I think they did well, but like a lot of these guys didn't really get the big money, and the Beatles never really owned their music till later, and Michael Jackson bought it. And so Taylor is the first full-blown superstar creatively and also as a businesswoman. So this is new, because it used to be you get a penny an album, pal. You know what I mean? David Geffen was there around in the 70s with the Eagles and all these different bands. And by 1990, he was a billionaire, and they'd all gotten rich, but nothing like him. So Taylor just upended this whole thing. I'm not only going to be the artist, I'm going to control my music. I'll record it, and I'm going to own all of it. And I'm going to leverage it globally because it's a global audience. Bobby Sherman just passed away. God rest his soul. He was teen idol in 1968, 69, 70. And he had a TV show and he had hit songs. But then once that went away, he became a fireman and an EMT guy. There wasn't this. But if you're a teen idol now and you have a good business sense, because it's global, you can make a few $100 million, even if you're only hot for 2 or 3 years, because of the global audience. So,
yeah. And yeah, the revolutionary style of what she did. And now people like Oliver Anthony coming in and saying, I'm not going to sign to a label. I'm just going to own it. And we're going to, put it out. I'll get my lawyers and we'll make our money. And he's trying to actually start I want to say label, but not like your traditional label sense. He's trying to start his own type of music group that gives back to the artist. So they get to own their music. They get to go out. They get to make the money and kind of push that agenda, which I think has been long overdue.
Yeah, and again, I just think that technology evolves, and so the business model evolves, and the relationship between the artist and the business people evolves. And there's people, just comedians, just say, I'm going to make Shane did it a while back. He goes, I'll just do it on YouTube, release it myself, and he gets 15 million views, and then he evolves into being Shane with, and then Rogan is more powerful, like 10x. To anybody or any TV show. Podcasting is still kind of new. This idea, like you have a TV show right now, and I'm on your TV show,
which is crazy to me, by the way. Still, I'm still got a little, culture shock here. So,
well, the beauty of this is that, I've gotten really used to this. Like, I feel like I'm in the room with you.
Yeah.
And I'm way across the country.
Yep.
And the sound is perfect, and we're talking. And the old model of going on the talk show and doing a pre-interview, the authenticity, word of the century, that we're just getting to know each other now, and we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
And so, I go on YouTube more and more, just like instead of television. Obviously, my algorithm's feeding me what I like, but I watched a documentary on Andrew Jackson,
Oh, yeah.
and sort of like, who was that guy? So the technology evolves, and then I'm happy for the the performers, the entertainers really being aware of money. And I think that Kevin Hart also did his own revolution about it, just really referring himself to as a brand, thinking I am a brand, and also getting his work into the marketplace in a consistent way. So I was down in the old hippie days and just, you do whatever, I'm amazed I got the money I got, but it definitely has changed, and the artist is now in control, if they want to be.
Yeah. Which is funny. So I'm on my computer right now, and actually a advertisement on the bottom corner of my computer came up for Fly on the Wall. as I'm sitting here talking to you, Fly on the Wall podcast. So talk about that. You guys have transitioned that a little bit from being just audio only to now talking to people and putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, we rode the wave. I mean, we kind of like, David and I just started hanging out. I moved back to LA, and he was always around, so we started hanging out. I'd known him since before Saturday Night Live, when he was like 21. Yeah. And there's a whole nother story about that. But then it was like our mutual manager, you guys try a podcast. Before that, there's no money in it. You don't want to do it, Yeah. And it was like, oh, let's try it. So we just tried it, and it was all audio. Everyone thought just do audio, and I was okay with that. So we got a foothold because we had a theme. We both have been known outside of podcasting. Oh, they're doing that. So the selling point initially was, okay, Saturday Night Live interviews. And so we went from there. And then at one point we kept going. We added Superfly. Let's do a second one where we'll just be kind of riffing and jamming and doing stuff like that. So, okay, that'll be kind of fun. And we put that one on video. And now we've reset the whole thing, rebranded Superfly and Fly on the Wall, confused all humanity. No one could. Superfly was it? So now it's basically 2 Fly on the Wall podcasts each week, one with a guest and we riff around, and one where we're just riffing around, or we could have a guest. But right now it's us just doing current events and looking at different things. So it's fantastic. Now all television.
It's so fun. Like just watching the podcast, kind of catching up and seeing, like I was just watching the your most recent one with Julie Bowen, which was fantastic. I also had no idea she was the original person from Happy Gilmore.
I know.
And I was
now
like,
she's still back. Yeah.
I was like, wait, that's the same person. Modern Family. I didn't realize that she was in Happy Gilmore. That's amazing.
I know. And she's a pistol. She's got a lot of energy and is incendiary, and we'll just say stuff. So she was really fun. We had her on before, and her and David have a thing from the long past, but it's a very funny thing to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Well, I was actually, watching that yesterday, and I'm about halfway through, so I'm, still catching up on it. But it was great.
There's a lot of content out there.
There is.
How do you even, I don't know what you watch or listen to on a regular basis, or you're just focused on how you're on once a week, twice a week with this.
So this, because it's interview based only, it kind of comes and goes with the interviews. So sometimes I'll have a lot, and I'll be putting out 1 to 2, a week. And then sometimes it'll go a month where I'm like, I don't have the right guest. I'm also a, dad with 4 kids, a wife, so this is kind of my side hobby of being able to, kind of express myself artistically through podcasting. So, I do what pays the bills first, and then I get to play around on the internet. And
well,
do things like that.
It's the same kind of thing. It's like I see you have a nice little setup, you have a good mic. Are you getting your video from a laptop or from a camera? Go either way.
Yeah. I've got a camera behind the laptop and all that sort of stuff. So
that's what they're having me switch to. It's a little more complex, but whatever. But the point is just TV shows. If you take the Tonight Show or any of these shows, it's millions and millions of dollars, and then you can do it this way. So, and you can get any guest at any time you want, pretty much. I got Paul McCartney on a couple years ago. With David and I got Paul McCartney on.
Yeah.
From London.
How was that? Like, do you like, you've met so many people and met so many, celebrities and things like that. Do you still get starstruck at times?
Oh yeah. I mean, with Paul McCartney, long story short, when I got Saturday Night Live, I was young and naive. I'd auditioned 3 times. I did not get it. Finally, somehow I got it. And then all of a sudden, Lorne Michaels said, come to Long Island in August. And, so then I lived with Lorne Michaels at his house. There were visitors and everything, Chevy Chase. And then Paul for a week, which I've told the story, but got to know him back then. And then, now interviewing him, but it was a little bittersweet because they said, write Paul a note. And so I was coming from the point of view that Paul, he doesn't want to talk about the Beatles over and over again. So my note to him was like, we'll talk about your times on SNL and your friendship with Lorne Michaels, this and that. Then he says, yes. And then I'm on vacation in Wyoming with my family, and we can't get Wi-Fi at the hotel in Wyoming. So I have to drive up to the Four Seasons in Jackson, spend the night in the hotel, and then try to get the podcast set up for Paul. And Spade he was in New York having problems. So basically, I was sort of sheepish about bringing up the Beatles. And I thought it was a little laborious in the beginning, kind of kidding around. What do you do how do you tune up? Where do you go out? And then I realized, no, he hadn't done an interview since Get Back, the documentary. So then I started talking about the Beatles, and then it kind of lit up. And at one point I said, did John Lennon ever thank you for your bass lines? And then he's like, well, I was a bass player, and we'd sit for a plum, could do this and that, So then it took off because I realized the epiphany I had for myself later on was, and it wasn't very profound, is that everyone's fascinated by what John and Paul, who wrote what, their collaboration, and we'll never quite know exactly. So if I bring up something and say, did you write the, like you play the drums on Dear Prudence or something, I can bring that up and then he can own it. But if he brings it up, he's too much of a gentleman,
Yeah.
So for Come Together, I said, did you write the bass line on that opening thing? So John wanted a real come together real fast. So I thought, no, let's make it swampy, slow it down, And I didn't want to ask for did John go like that? Did he start that? So anyway, it's an endless fascination, but it was a thrill and I do get starstruck.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that bass line is just iconic. Like you hear that come in, you know exactly what's going on. And
Ringo, the left-handed drummer, the right-hand kit going backwards this way, but, and George Martin, they had a great producer for them. Everything was way on top. You never had to fight to hear them.
Yeah.
And Frank Sinatra has the same thing. If you go around XM radio, you really hear Frank. You really can hear the lyrics. And generally with the Beatles too, they made sure the voices weren't buried. So anyway, there's something magic happened. It did. It was 7 years, and even Paul can't believe it. Really. Yeah. So
that's awesome. We had a band that would actually come in and do live band karaoke, and that was one of the ones on their set list, of course, because it's just so gritty. you can do whatever with that song, and just almost anybody can get behind it.
You come on Flat Top, you got Groovy Like Sully. I mean, yeah. I know karaoke is scary in a way.
Yeah. So you play drums
a bit.
How much of that? You did the stuff with Wayne's World. What were you playing before that? You playing drums before that, or was it kind of with the role? No.
I mean, I had 3 older brothers. My brother Scott, we were in bunk beds in a little room in a little track home. My dad was a high school teacher, 5 kids. And so we liked music right away. So before the Beatles, we had a little red clothes hamper, and we named because the Beach Boys, we named ourselves the Surfers. Okay. And wrote it in crayon. And he got for $1 a garage sale, 1-string guitar. He could play Louie Louie kind of. So I had a Hardy Boys book that was my snare drum and I would kick the clothes hamper as the bass drum, but we needed drumsticks. So we went down to Laurel Avenue in the little town near San Francisco, and there was a drum store called Heart Drum. So we were juvenile delinquents. So I went in there and I shoplifted a pair of, and I don't know if Scott was a decoy or drumsticks. So Heart Drum. So 40 years later or something like that, the Grateful Dead is at a bar in the Four Seasons. So I start talking to the Grateful Dead and Bob Weir and Mickey Hart, and we mentioned the town San Carlos, and that he'd had a drum store with his dad called Hart Drums in the 1960s and was in there. So I said, I think I stole a pair of drumsticks from you, and I handed him 20. But
I think I owe you some money from
I
way
gave
back.
him 20 and he laughed. But anyway, so then after that, at one point I was able to get a hold of a Slingerland really simple drum set. So my brother and I were playing a lot and jamming, garage band jamming. And then we recorded some stuff. I was playing drums, and then I got into comedy, but I always was kind of felt like a drummer, but not a great drummer, but really loved drumming. And then when Garth came up, and we were starting to do Wayne's World, Wayne had the guitar. So I said, give me a pair of drumsticks. So then I would just do air drumsticks.
Yeah.
Wayne's World. And then when the movie came up, I thought it'd be fun to have him do a little drum thing in the movie. That was also a little disappointing because they'd given me a sort of a jazz set, Yamaha red jazz set, meaning smaller drums close together, and sort of I was elevated on top of them, and a lot of little splashes. So I practiced on that kit during the making of the movie. I just going to, and I thought a pretty good one. And then I show up in the set, and it's the gigantic Yamaha. It's like huge. So instead of playing like this, I'm doing way out. So I made him give me the other set, which then I gave to a cousin or something. But so I did that solo, and it was just kind of fun. Thanks, I like to play. And I also did play when Aerosmith was there. I played with them, which was a thrill. And my best drum solo that's been recorded was the character, the Church Lady.
Yes.
With Danny DeVito. If I watch it, and I did Ringo, but I just caught it right. So that was my favorite drumming, was as a 70-year-old woman in a dress that's been recorded. And that's all my drum stories.
And Church Lady is, so I went to a church, very young. And I remember my older brother would watch the Church Lady, and then we would do like sketch comedy at the church. So they would do like drama, like sketch comedy dramas. And the Church Lady was one of the ones that he wanted to emulate, because it was just spot on. It was perfect.
Everyone loved the Church Lady. I was surprised. I could talk to a Baptist, Catholic, anybody, that there was just touched a nerve that there are, it can't be men or women, but women kind of behind the scenes in orthopedic shoes and sort of running the show a little bit. And sometimes you can get a little holier than thou,
Yeah.
And so we were Lutherans, and we didn't go to church every Sunday, because Lutherans are more casual. But when we'd show up, I think it came from there, feeling a sense of the church ladies watching us come in, and apparently we come to church when it's convenient. This is one of the first rhythms of it. And it wasn't a big thing. I mean, before I got SNL, I was doing like 70-minute sets, headlining in small clubs, and she would be maybe a 5-minute thing, Church Lady. But it always went over really strong. But it wasn't like Dana Carvey is the Church Lady, And I was stunned how it was. I never wore the dress until I got to get up, and I had to really keep on people. No, it's really androgynous. I don't want fake boobs. I don't want makeup. No. Just and the dress was great that they got, So then the first time I did it, I just had Victoria Jackson kind of as sort of a Bible girl, young woman, and kind of really being emotional about it. And I pray and I just think I'm trying to be good for the Lord. And she goes on and on and on and on. And that's like the setup. And then the church lady goes, pause. Well, isn't that special? The ultimate condescension. And it got a huge laugh in 8H SNL. And that calmed me down.
Awesome.
What more can I tell you about Blackout Barbell? I mean, literally, they're my favorite company. Sean, who runs the company, is fantastic. You've seen them everywhere. They're at all the competitions, whether it be Wadapalooza in Miami, Wad Wars in Tampa, the CrossFit Games. They were at Mayhem Classic, Pensacola Beach Brawl. They're going to be at Atlantic Coast Classic. Get yourself some Blackout Barbell. All you got to do is go to blackoutbarbell.shop, use promo code Wex Appeal, save yourself 10% off your order. It's as simple as that. You're going to get the best gear that you've ever had in the gym, and you can wear it out, and it's comfortable, it's stylish, people love it. Get it, blackoutbarbell.shop, use promo code Wex Appeal. And for the listeners of the Wex Appeal podcast, what I want you to do is go on to Blackout Barbell's Instagram page, follow them, and then also, every time you see them post something, tag hashtag Space Wolves, because we want a Space Wolf shirt for the Wex Appeal podcast as the new shirt, and we got to talk Sean into it. So get over there to Blackout Barbell Instagram and start just tagging everything with hashtag Space Wolves. If you know, you know. Get on it. blackoutbarbell.shop. Get yourself the best gear. Use promo code WEXAPPEAL. Save yourself 10% off. Peace. There's nothing that hits the spot quite like a good cup of coffee. And not just a good cup of coffee, a strong cup of coffee. And not just strong, but actually strong coffee. Strong Coffee Company is probably one of my favorite guilty pleasures. It's not even that guilty because it's got Neurofactor, L-theanine, all the supplements and things that you want for your brain to function at a high level. They are amazing. You can get all their different flavors. Go to strongcoffeecompany.com, use promo code WEXAPPEAL, save yourself 10% off, and get a game changer to your mornings. So get over there, strongcoffeecompany.com, use promo code WEXAPPEAL, save 10% off, and get hooked up with literally your new favorite routine in the morning. Strong coffee. Get it today, Strong Coffee Company, and get your brain firing on all cylinders.
So on the drumming thing, so the reason we're talking is we both have, well, I have an uncle, you have a friend.
Yeah.
My uncle Kip, who is a Franciscan friar.
Yeah, I had lunch with him yesterday.
Yeah. He
had a cheeseburger.
Well, he sent me a video. And I can only imagine it was on a flip phone just because of the quality of this video. But it was you playing drums with the Franciscan friars, all of them playing Wayne's World, which absolutely incredible.
I know. And every year there's a gala for the Franciscan friars, and Kip. And what is your relationship with Kip? Uncle or
he's my uncle. He's my mother's brother. Yeah.
Yeah. So so he takes just these novice friars and then whips them into a band. And it was my first time there at the churches. So I went into the practice room, and some of these guys, one guy had never played bass, and Kip's has a bass, and they're trying to do Hotel California. And I'm like, Kip, why? Yeah, I heard it on the grapevine. I mean, maybe some Creedence Clearwater 3-chord, it's genius. But so he whips them into a band. But I'll tell you what, though, that song is a little tricky. That was the one I did with Aerosmith on Saturday Night Live. Wayne's World, Wayne's World. It's that's weird. And so it wasn't my best. I could, and also we didn't really have monitors, but I wasn't quite sure how I did, but it was good enough. Wayne's World, Wayne's World. So anyway.
Well, and it's just the picture as well. Like the
Yeah.
picture is
Oh,
just
right. I know. Yeah.
you got Garth back there on the drums with a whole bunch of Franciscan friars, like just rocking out. It was
Rocking
amazing.
out. Yeah. I'll be doing it again this year. I told him I'm going to try to do Heart of Gold as Neil Young, because the only time I can really sing, if I sing like a Beatle or if I sing like Neil Young,
Mhm.
I'm better. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. So
Nice.
I got a lot of Neil Young stories too.
Well, tell him he needs a better camera for the next one, because it's such a
Oh
great
yeah,
such
yeah.
a great scene. But so what, talking to him, I was like, hey, love to have you on the podcast, and then he called me, a few months later and said you were down to do it, and I was like, that's incredible.
Sure.
This is gonna be fun. Um, when you were doing things with Saturday Night Live, when did did you ever know certain things would hit? Like we talked a little bit on the phone about Hans and Franz,
Mm-hmm.
which is by again another one of those skits that we would do, that we would imitate, and just fantastic. Like, did you know that was a hit? Like before you premiered it, or was it kind of one of those things that once it started to take off, you really just
It
started to love
it
it?
had to take off because it's surprisingly really abstract and really bizarre, because you kind of think on the surface of it, two guys who are cousins of Arnold and was stronger than you and this and that, okay? And Arnold can beat you up. But the truth underneath it all is that these are two damaged people who are paranoid and insecure. They're on this cable show that maybe has 3 viewers, and yet they're threatening. They're challenging the audience that they think is not respecting their pumpitude. And then they're threatening to go to their house and do all kinds of sadistic things to them. And so at the beginning, the audience, it did okay. It did definitely fine to get to a second appearance,
Mhm.
but it really started to grow after that, because of, yeah, I'm Hans and I'm Franz. We are here to bomb you up, which was just great because it was just so catchy, right? And
Yeah.
when it got going, the audience would clap with us. We are very pumped up, men. And let me tell you something. If you don't believe we're properly pumped up, maybe you should look at yourself. Yeah, your buttocks are probably like marshmallows. You're lucky I don't have a campfire here. So there they are. They're identifying the glutes as being weak and soft,
Mhm.
using the idea that they could be like marshmallows, and then leaping to the idea where you're lucky. So they're threatened to burn the guy's ass. I mean,
Yeah.
we would light a fire to a marshmallow. So it became so abstract. So for the people who got it, I mean, my wife and I had a trainer in New York, a real New York, Brooklyn guy, when Hans and Fromm was going on, a real nice guy. And he got possessed by it. Yeah, check it out, dog. Look at this. Just the ego of being in a gym and check out my work. I have a washboard stomach. You have a Sears front loader. And so what happened with my particular character was that sometimes I tend to abstract things. I would get bored and then take them further and further. But we would have this enamel paint between our teeth. And so after that was put in, I didn't want to smear it. So I sort of be like this to save it. And I looked in the mirror and it looked like I was sort of smiling. And then I kind of took the same material, but took it as Kevin is 6'4". I'm 5'8". I was the little guy who had a secret. Sorry, run away, losers. I have an idea. Maybe we should take the flab in your back and stretch it into the shape of a rope ladder so you could crawl back down in the sewer, because that's where losers live. It's like a poem. So it might be my favorite thing that I've ever done with Kevin. And Kevin, when he does that character, when we've done it and we're kind of getting ready to start, 3, 2, 1, he'll just suddenly lower his IQ. Like his eyes go a little funny. And he's like maybe not quite as smart as Hans, but he's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you. And it always starts with, let me tell you something. But the audience, they never see them. No one's ever threatened them. So that's
Yeah.
just, it's, what part of it do you like? I'll ask you.
Well, I mean, everything about it, like you're just going into like little bits of it. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
You just can't help but laugh. Like, and just,
It's madness.
There's nothing quite like hitting a big lift in the gym, whether it be a heavy clean and jerk or a snatch. When you hit that perfect lift, it just feels amazing. And you know what else feels amazing? Having a hero barbell in your hands while you do it. Literally, these are the best barbells I've ever used. The knurling is perfect, the spin is amazing, and that's why CrossFit Games athletes like Andrea Nisler and Colton Mertens have teamed up to do their very own bar. You can save on one of these bars. You can go to herobarbell.com, use promo code Wex Appeal to save 10% off your order. They're a partner of the show, they're a sponsor of the show. We love them. They're veteran owned, and they were birthed out of the pandemic when gym supplies were in short supply. You can get not only barbells, but you can get weight belts, plates, all the accessories. They've got shirts, apparel, all sorts of things. Get over there to herobarbell.com. Use promo code WEXAPPEAL to save 10% off your order and get literally the best barbell in the game. Do it today. WEXAPPEAL is the promo code at herobarbell.com. Save yourself some money. One thing that's been a game changer for me in the gym has been getting my supplements on point. And the best way to do that is Podium Nutrition. Go to 321podium.com/Wex Appeal to save 25% off your order and get the absolute best in supplements, whether it be protein, creatine, pre-workout, BCAAs and salt, collagen protein, you name it, they have it. Get over there to 321podium.com/Wex Appeal. Save 25% off your order. Literally, creatine has completely changed the way that I work out and lift. It's been a game changer. I've hit so many PRs since I've been on it. So get over there and get it. 321podium.com/Wex Appeal. Get 25% off your order and get hooked up with some of the best supplements on the market.
so what is it with you and access cable television? You got Wayne's World, you've got Hans and Franz. It just seems like a theme.
Well, yeah, Wayne's World came after us, but there were other sketches that were sort of set in local cable access. I think it just shows you that they were not successful.
Yeah.
You know, they were just really fledgling and barely making a nickel, and so that gives it sort of a root for them, comedy motif. Local cable television, but you're right. That's right. Local cable television, Aurora, whatever, and wherever we were. And of course, that was fun when Arnold came to New York. And then Arnold's down the hall. Do you want to meet him? You know, wondering how he, yeah.
And how did he? I mean, I'm sure loved it.
Well, of course, but you're just going to go meet Arnold. You know, he's a huge movie star. And he's just sitting in a chair. He goes, "Hello, fellas. Now, let me tell me again. How do you do the accent?" You know? So then we had David and I went to Arnold's place and interviewed Arnold for the podcast. And he's so funny. He's kind of like this. He's sort of like a genius in a way about business and everything. He goes, you know, the people come in and they do that. They hear the accent. You guys do it. It makes it more acceptable for the people. So he looked at it as a complete positive.
Yeah.
And embraced the whole thing.
I mean, I think at some point you have to, though.
Well, you should.
You should, yeah.
You should. It's the best way to go. I mean, George Bush Sr., president, you know, really went with it, you know, and enjoyed it. And we became really good friends for like 30 years. And he would do it all the time, do it in speeches. Not gonna do it. It was so ridiculous, again, that he's babbling like a baby, like, not got that, you know. But anything that's abstracted to me and goes places that you wouldn't expect that's the fun part for me, really.
Yeah.
You know,
has there been one that didn't fly with somebody that they were like, oh, no.
The recent one that was kind of a thing was in an extraordinary time in history was Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden had been done over the years through the Obama years by Jason Sudeikis and Kevin Nealon, many, many people doing Joe Biden. And there's all these different ways to do him. And then Joe Biden kind of showed up and he's a little different. And then it was sort of like, what do I do with this? And Al Franken, who's a friend of mine, invited me to do a podcast like this. And he says, will you try to do Joe Biden? And I didn't have anything. I'm like, hey, I'm Joe Biden. I mean, I didn't even have anything. It was like, so then it became SNL, Colbert. I did it a little bit, but that really evolved to something completely different, by the time I was finished with it. And guess what? And by the way, the fact matter, that hook, the initial hook was him in town halls before he got elected. Just my father lost his job. Scranton, Pennsylvania. No joke. I'm not kidding around here. No, I'm being serious. Number one, the one part. Number two, you know the drill. Come on, folks. And so then I had those hooks, but I did it on Colbert, and the audience was a little restless. It was New York City. And so it was a little soon after Trump. And depending on your political stripe, you might feel like, are we because I had jokes like, I never fall down the Air Force One stairs. I don't have a problem. I flail upwards. I flail a little bit. And I walk a little bit. Come on, folks. So I was starting to play around with it. And then I sort of put it away for a while. But then on the podcast, I started when he would go up to the mic and whisper and then yell. That became a big line in the sand, because I go, now he's got energy. He's not just whispering. He's like, he's not just kind of soft. My father lost his job. No joke. There's, it wasn't going anywhere. It was kind of low energy. But then once he was like, guess what? The rich don't pay their fair share. And they got to pay their fair share, and the yelling Biden. And when he's at a press conference, that was one that I did that went viral, where it was like, that, like I said, what was the hook for that? And it was like, I close the border faster than the border. So that was one that I didn't know what he felt about it. But then when I did it on SNL this past fall, some of his staff came up and said, we love your Joe Biden. Why don't you come to the White House before he leaves office? But it didn't happen. Yeah. So maybe he was okay with it, but I never knew directly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've done so many. Like, I mean, you've covered almost all the presidents in my lifetime for the most part. Yeah. So it's got to, you can't take political sides with it. It's satire. It's comedy. You can't take it too seriously.
Yeah. Just every time I go through the Biden thing, I'm like, it's pretty abstract. It's pretty silly. And I think the main thing to negate all that is if you make it funny. Yeah. To both sides of the political aisle. Like, it's just funny. And, I don't really look at comments, but I saw some comments. I'm not a fan of this, but it is funny. So I think that's the key, and of course with Trump, how do you abstract him? How far can you go with him who's so abstract himself?
He's already an abstract figure. Like,
yeah. I was just doing a thing because he'll work a word more than anyone, but just ceasefire and just playing with that as Trump, because he'll take a word or a phrase and repeat it, as you know. Yeah. But to take it far enough to be satirical is we're going to get a ceasefire. It's a ceasefire. Cease with cease like you wouldn't cease fire. The ceasefire thing you've ever seen. CC writer. Cease, free, cease. I have to find a way to get Trump funnier than he already is. It's like, how do you exaggerate it? Yeah. But yeah, it's, the political times are very polarizing. So if you're out there just for fun, taking source material, it's hard. I could do a perfect Timothy Chalamet or something, but the voice that everybody knows are certain politicians, and or the president, that's kind of to do an impression that the whole country will know that's what you do.
And that always seems like a SNL staple. Like, you have to have presidential commentary. One way, presidential comedy one way or
Yeah,
another.
and SNL's been doing that for,
Yeah.
50 years, and so, it was fun to go in there and land the Biden, in a way that it just kinda worked for everybody, and, it was fun doing it in the makeup and the thing, and with, Andy Samberg and and Jim Gaffigan, it was just kind of fun to do it with those people.
Yeah. So was it neat to go back and like be there for because obviously you're an alumnus, so you can go back anytime you want, but like go back for kind of a little bit of a run there with
It
that
ended
company.
up being 10 shows. It sort of surprised me. I mean, I could have left after the election because that
Mhm.
was, um, I think Maya didn't come back after but Lauren is just, he gave me my break. He's my, true North Star. He's who I want to please. He's like, well, he's still the president. So I stuck around for a few more shows. I did do Biden with James Austin Johnson doing Trump, which was fun. I did a church lady, but basically there was a lot of interesting energy in 8H when Kamala came.
Mm.
Kamala? Kamala?
Yeah,
That was
Kamala.
always a tough one.
Yeah.
And, Secret Service everywhere. And also, this is what I was told, that she's gonna come to SNL and that her team asked SNL's prop department, "Could you make a small steel box so in case the shit hits the fan in 8H, we can stuff Kamala into the box?" And they said, we just do fake boxes. There's a car, it'll look like steel, but it won't.
Yeah.
So, so I'm on 8H, I'm finishing the makeup and the wig with Biden. And I come out and going into 8H, there's the doors. There's like 10 like SWAT team guys on both sides with
Uh-huh.
night goggles, AK-47s and boots and big whatever you call it, like
Yeah. Tactical
armor.
vests.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, "Can I go?" They go. And so I'm walking as Biden. I'm in character, and they're just like this. And so I actually saluted them. I just went like, "It's at ease. Come on. Not a kid and a kid in the rounds of people, what they say." So that was a trip. And then this was another one that really blew my mind is that so we do the sketch and they love, Kamala. She gets a standing ovation for like 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then we're all leaving, going back down the hallway. She's in my Rudolph's, and her team says, "Would you like to meet her?" So I went in there. I'm still in total Biden. And so I walked in the door in a little room, and she's right up in front of me. So I just started doing Biden straight to her. "You're gonna do fine, kid. Come on, you got this. You know what you're doing." She laughed so hard, I thought she was gonna lose it. I mean, she bent over and was just cackling
Yeah.
with that mirror up to her. So, it was a nice little run and then that was it. But, um,
Huh.
so it was fun going back there. Everyone was very sweet and it was sort of just a flash. It was funny to have a character. And then I did just one little thing they asked me to do, Elon Musk. They asked me the night before, so I did like 20 seconds. And then Mike comes in, my buddy, comes in, and then he does Elon Musk. So we're both, they're from the early 90s, and here they come again. It's kind of funny.
There's so much history and like so much, so many people have gone through those halls and so many characters and identities and things that have just kind of come from that. Is there anything that you look back on that you're like, man, I wish that would have hit that didn't, like something that you were really attached to or just kind of enjoyed the whole ride?
I had an exceptionally lucky time there, One thing that was interesting is New York Times they did these different things around the 50th and they did catchphrases, which
Mhm.
I always loved because I was watching the 70s. Cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. I'm Rosanna, Dana, Dana,
Yeah.
And I love that something just gets repeated and kind of takes on a life of its own. So they were listing, well, isn't that special? And we want to pump, all the different, not gonna do it, all these, and issue number one and things that I'd done, but they did not mention two of my favorites, which was as a rhythm catchphrase, Ross Perot from the 90s. Can I finish one time?
Yep.
Can I finish one time? And then Johnny Carson. I'm going way back, folks, but Johnny Carson, I did not know that. That is weird, wild stuff. So those two were really fun. Perot was easy. He was such a funny character off the bat. But Carson was sort of laying around, and there have been people doing Carson, but that was one of my favorites as well because it was so dry and just fun to be Johnny Carson with Phil Hartman as Ed McMahon and Carson, that sort of sincere, sort of Nebraska, for those of you at home, you're watching a thing called a television, So, and the thing I do now for Friends, which I did on Bill Maher?
No.
Johnny Carson gets pulled over for drunk driving.
I have not seen. No, I haven't seen that one.
Well, I don't know why I thought of this. It just hit me. And I thought of just drinking in the 70s. It was different kinds of funny bars. And, it was a little looser about alcohol.
Yeah.
So Johnny gets pulled over, and it's the name of the drink and the establishment he had the drink at is the funny part. If you're from that era. Oh, sorry, officer. I didn't know I was swerving. I had 2 slippery monkeys at the Hook and Crook. So 2 slippery monkeys at the Hook and Crook. I had a strawberry tomato boom boom at the Windy Summit. Just somehow hit me funny. So that's become a thing that when I was in the hallway when I was there the 10 weeks, Jimmy Fallon comes over and he's like, he's got really Labrador Retriever energy, And so I did a few for him. So he just went ballistic. I'm sorry, officer. Didn't know he was swerving. He just had a trigger. We went on and on for like 20 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's wild because like you're referencing all these people and I'm like, I can see all these different, these different things. So it's just really cool.
I always try to have new toys, I have a character called Red Necky, the redneck comedian. So the idea is that he's a terrible comedian, but he has a catchphrase.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Red Necky, the redneck comedian. You ever fart so loud, dog 2 stayed away go, what dad? I'm Red Necky, the redneck comedian. You ever crap so big you don't know gonna get down that toilet? Come and get some. I'm Red Necky, the redneck comedian. I met my sister only because mama took me down. Come and get some. And it goes on and on and on,
Yeah.
So this just makes me laugh.
Yeah. And that's the purest form of comedy. Like, and a lot of times, like with me and my friends, it's just dark comedy. It's like comedy that you wouldn't necessarily.
Oh no! When John
to other
Lovitz
people.
and I are on the phone or texting, to shock your friends, you go places that just make you laugh because it's completely and it's a thing that I don't know if it's ever been really presented because you're doing such foul stuff, but it's not about that. It's not offensive at all to the people in the thing. It's purely shocking your friend.
Yeah.
How do you shock them?
What was one somebody sent me from yours, the Aryan Nation one. And I cannot remember it now. You know which one I'm referring to?
Yes.
The like the Nazis, but they're like in the backwoods or something.
Oh yeah. So it's just a big part of comedy. Depending on there's people who harbor it as their main thing is saying the stuff you're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
You tell a comedian, well, you can't say that word and you can't say this and that topic, and then that's what shocks your friend if you do it anyway. It's all just a timing thing. But that was I did a lot of practice with friends when they would get stoned in junior college and stuff. And I would do a Star Trek thing and go on for 10 minutes and, whatever. I mean, it's, you laugh a lot. Like when I'm hiking sometimes, especially in LA, I'm just hiking down the hill, the mountain. And then I'll see a group of young women, like early 20s or something. And they're just laughing.
Yeah.
So hard, it's something to try to, you're young. You just try to stay in touch with that. But in your early 20s or in high school and stuff, when you laugh with your friends, you just laugh crazy hard.
Yeah.
And it's almost a lost art as you get older. Maybe life just beats you down or something, but it's a really wonderful thing to see. Just
Yeah.
people just dying with laughter.
Well, thank you for the young comment because I mean, at 45, I'm 45, so it doesn't feel as young anymore.
Well, I'm 70, so
Yeah.
yeah, okay, 45. Let me process that. 45, 4 kids, married. You're right in the yeah, everyone's the oldest they've ever been. So
Yes.
they never get to I would say if it depends on your habits. Like back in the day, everyone was chain smoking, boozing hard, eating stuff. So if you take Spencer Tracy or Clark Gable, these are old-timey actors.
Mhm.
And if you look at FDR, they're all around 60, they're shot, They're
Yeah.
just completely shot. They look ancient. Everyone baked in the sun, chain smoked, lots of alcohol, tremendous shots all day. I mean, the movie sets, they're always drinking everything.
Yeah.
And now you've got Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise at 61, 62. Okay, so this is this very hydrated, lot of working out, stay out of the sun. If you get a little work, nobody cares. Hair
Yeah.
stays chestnut brown, teeth are super white, and a lot of physicality, you know. So there's a reinvention of what's possible, I think. You still get older and so stuff happens,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
it's 45. If you just, I mean, I can tell you're not shot, so just keep going.
I try. I'm in the gym running around with 20-year-olds, trying to keep up with, some of
Well, I saw
the
some clips of you working out. So you've got the fitness thing down.
yeah.
Is it mostly you're
What's up?
trying? What
I'm
do you mean?
trying. Well,
But
at 45, I know my limits. I know what I can push myself at and what to,
all
kind of
right.
take it
Well,
easy
can
on.
I
So,
because I find this fascinating. So what is your philosophy or what is your habit around, let's just take strength training first.
yes.
What do you do in the gym? High
Um,
reps, Pilates style, cables, or what is your
so I don't know how much you know about CrossFit, but
you know all about it. I
it's
haven't done it, but yeah.
it's
But
basically its own little cult.
that's beastie. That's a beast mode. Yeah.
You basically what we have is we have a strength portion of the day.
Mhm,
So it's an hour-long class. So first 15, 20 minutes, you're stretching and kind of
mhm.
getting ready and warming up. And then we've got a 15 to 20 minute like strength component, which is anything from like heavyweight back squats to deadlifts to Olympic lifts, which are like clean and jerk, snatches, and things like that. And then you do like a 15, anywhere from a 10 to 20 minute, what's called a Metcon, which is just kind of a high heart rate, different types of movements, and just functional fitness. So that's what I do. And, my kids, I do it. And then my kids watched me coach it for so long that they started doing it. So now I do it. I'm able to go with my kids and they're big into it and wanting to compete at high levels and go to competitions and do
They're
stuff. So
within the CrossFit world, not
yeah,
bodybuilding. Yeah, CrossFit.
yeah.
So did you build up to it? Because it feels like someone coming into it at 70 would be more difficult in terms of injury, that
Yeah.
would be fear.
So the what we call is infinitely scalable. So you can make it whatever you want it to be. So it can
Mhm,
be as hard or as easy as it needs to be. The thing I like about CrossFit is, let's say I come in and you come in as well. We're doing the
mhm,
same workout. I might be doing a heavier weight or a more skilled movement, but you're doing a version of it. At
mhm.
the end of that 10 minutes, you and I are both going to feel the exact same. You're going to be tired, out of breath.
Mhm.
And although maybe I did heavier weight, the amount of exertion is the same.
How many push-ups, if you were fresh and warmed up, could you comfortably do? Like, just
Oh man,
comfortably.
comfortably
Like,
maybe
just a
20,
good effort. How
like
many?
25 to 30. I could definitely bust out. I might be able to get to 50, but I'm going to be hating life at some point.
Well,
Uh,
so, to my point, there you are. No one Humphrey Bogart never did deep squats. You
yeah.
I mean, so you're already way ahead of the curve. Whatever gets you through it. Yeah, functional training as a phrase came in, or at least for me, in the 90s.
Mhm.
And you get little injuries, you have to work around stuff. What I like to
Yeah.
do for myself, because I came from cross country and track in high school and junior college, I really like to pay attention to my VO2 max, you
Yes.
know, and judging by the resting heart rate and stuff like that. Because I think that is obviously your life force,
Mhm.
that's like that's your heart light, that's your engine, that you can lean on. I think I've been sort of lifestyle wise remiss in really what they now call mobility,
Mhm.
you know. But I just had a hernia operation, went well. I'm
Good.
recovering, it's been 2 weeks, congenital,
Okay.
really good surgeon. And then I had also hip dysplasia. My left hip is fine, but my right hip presents for some tears and some arthritis, but it's not
Mhm.
terrible. So now I'm in that phase of like compromising, but um, running went bye-bye at a certain point because of the hip, but I hike and I like to hike
Yeah.
really steep hills and go really hard. My favorite thing to do is push-ups,
Mhm.
you know, but I was a lot of people. Here's my question for you. A lot of people just don't can't get their mind around working out, go to the gym once, like Dennis Miller. I finally sent him to the trainer, and then, Christ sakes, Carvey, I can't even feel my arm today. All right. They go in, it's way too hard, it doesn't seem fun. That's the other whole part of the population, not the highly motivated, but the people like could really use 2 30-minute strength mobility sessions a week, and then do a little bit of cardio. But how do you
Yep.
motivate them when they're just like, can't imagine it?
One of the biggest things, and that's the thing I probably love most about CrossFit, just as
Mm,
a methodology, is the community.
yeah.
Um, I would have quit a long time ago.
Oh,
had
well,
it
it's
not
like, I got it. You're
had it not been for, making, you get your friends in that 9 o'clock class, and all of a sudden they're like, "Where the hell are you? Why aren't you here?
right.
What are you doing?" And or you go and you want to beat them in a class. It's funny because we've got a group of friends, all different decades. So we got a guy that's 28, we got a guy that's 53, we got me, I'm in the middle at 45, and then a couple
Uh-huh.
girls that are like 40. Oh, she's gonna be so mad that I just said 40. She's
Ah,
39. She's 39. She'll
it's
be 40.
39. That's all I
she's
heard. All I heard
she's
was 39.
yeah. And but we have this chat group on Instagram that we basically send horrible memes back and forth to each other all the time. But at the same time, we're also motivating each other. Hey, get in there and do this.
Get that.
You're
Yeah.
not, you haven't made it to the gym this week. We need to see you. You need to be here. Even if you're not doing anything, you need to just come in. And
Mhm.
that has been what's kind of kept the consistency for me, because I got burnt out on just going to a gym and trying to, well, I need to do 3 sets of 10 of this. And like,
Right.
I just, it wasn't my style. This, now I get in there and my buddy just, oh, he back squatted 400 pounds. Well, I'm going to do 405. I'm going to, I'm going to, I'm going to beat him in something, and then he'll beat me in everything else. So I
Yeah.
pick,
Well,
and choose my battles.
you've got real strength. I mean, that's real
Well,
strength. I think that building a lot of muscle, and which it starts to at a certain time, just to keep the muscle. I mean, I think, aging, there's many, many metrics of it, but probably the number one is just losing mass,
yeah.
losing lean mass, because then you just have no pedestal. So,
The
um,
biggest thing is lifting weight. Um, Getting weight training, even if it's not heavy weight, just lifting
mm,
some sort of weight and
mhm.
pushing that muscle mass, because that furthers longevity. And the other thing, which is kind of the secret weapon that I found way too late in life, was creatine. Not
Someone
only
mentioned that to me yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, not only for the body, but also for the mind. Creatine actually helps in brain health as well. So they're finding studies where creatine is helping people um, more cognitively with creatine than it is just muscle mass
Well,
and
because
building
the
and things
body
like that.
makes creatine, you're just giving it a little boost.
Yes,
How long have you taken it?
I've been taking it over the past, probably about the past year.
And
and seen huge differences.
and when did you first notice a difference? And what were you taking? Like 2 tablespoons every morning? And
So I have a company called Podium that I work with,
mhm,
and they have creatine, and it's I think it's like a 5 milligram scoop.
mhm,
And they do regular, like, non-flavored, but then they do flavored as well. So like I took, the strawberry, I throw it in water, mix it up, I drink one a day, so just like 5 milligrams a day, and found that, like, I didn't notice, like, I didn't particularly notice right away, but then I
mhm.
started noticing I'm lifting way more than I was lifting before. Like, significant differences as far as what I was lifting. Um, and then the cognitive factor, just more energy, and because you're, building more muscle mass, and
Mm.
kind of
Well, maybe
kind
I'll
of
have
firing all systems. Creatine is the go-to.
maybe I'll try some. And obviously, uh, water's really important, I guess, with creatine.
Mhm.
I drink a lot of water anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm bad about it. When I'm good, I'm trying to drink a gallon a day. The
Mhm.
problem is I'm gotta piss every, 10, 15 minutes at that point with that much water intake.
That is kind of the problem, but what happens is, and I don't know when it starts, but at some point when you get older, your thirst mechanism um, isn't as sensitive. So a lot of seniors aren't really thirsty.
Mm,
They don't really get thirsty, and
yeah.
so therefore they don't really drink. And then their lab comes back, and their kidneys are going, "Hey." So at one point, you have to hack that idea to yourself intellectually, just sort of like, "Oh, I'm just gonna chug a glass of water."
Yeah.
Especially if I'm in my house and I know there's a bathroom, whatever,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it's
'cause
it's like, if I can start my day with like, first thing in the morning, get a glass in, and, like, start my day with it, I'm like, "Okay, I'm at least 1 out of 8 glasses in."
I do a 16 ounce before I have a cup of coffee, but I
Yeah.
just it's a habitual thing. I look at the things that are on a disciplinary scale that are difficult,
Mhm.
and the stuff that is easy.
Yeah.
So, staying hydrated is easy. So I'm going to do that. Oh, some people are like, "Oh, I don't feel like water. I want to have the coffee." Well, your body's going to love it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I also just got into the habit that's helped me. I just step on a digital scale. I don't I have a deal with myself. I don't judge. I've been I'm a small person. Like I'm not obsessed with it, but
Uh-huh.
I've told people who don't weigh ever tend to have some weight issues because when you step on it, but you don't want to go crazy or judge it. Just you step on it, and then your subconscious brain starts to work on you. Because in
Yes.
other words, say you're someone, let's take a woman's size, and she's 160 and she would love to be 140.
Mhm.
I always say just drink a lot of water and step on the digital scale every morning, and don't go ahead and have a banana split. It's not punitive. But what
Yeah.
it'll be like, something will happen. You go, geez, I'm 158. Maybe if I have an early dinner, and so that's the way I do it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, getting on the scale is motivation to be just like, "Oh, okay. That's not where I wanna be." And it
Right.
helps me make small choices throughout the day.
Yeah, that's right. I
So
call it a thousand mini diets rather than
yes.
here I go and it's punitive, and then your metabolism slows down, you bounce off the bottom.
Yep.
So now with Ozempic, I throw all that out the window, the GLPs,
Why
you know.
work out? Why diet and exercise? You can
Well,
just stab yourself.
I mean, for me, I'll probably get a DACA test because that'll give me my lean mass because I know
Mhm.
that I'm um, losing it, because traveling so much and
Yeah.
missing so much, and being on the road and then having an injury and just like, so I'm going to try to at least find out where I am and then what should I weigh? Because if your lean mass goes down to like 105,
Mhm.
then you can be borderline in the obese scale at like 150.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I also looked at is not judging based on what the scale says versus how I feel and look. Because if you are lifting,
Oh,
and
oh
you're
yeah.
lifting a lot, you'll wait like that that woman, like, you could take 2 women that weigh 160,
Mhm.
and one looks in ridiculous great shape because she has muscle, she has muscle mass, or not like overly crazy like a bodybuilder, but just lean.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
And then you
absolutely.
take someone who doesn't work out, who's 160, who like, wow, they look very large to be nice.
Yeah,
And
I always say it's not what you weigh, it's what you're made of. So
yes,
what amount is lean mass for sure? And that was only sort of a person who clearly could lose a little weight. But yeah, it's just lean mass is where it's at for people. If science is going to keep us alive, you want to be able to walk well. In the end of the day, can you reach for something? Can you get up out of a chair? Can you walk with authority? I mean, I know that's when you get down to the nubs of still enjoying yourself on the planet, but the average healthy lifespan for a man in America is 68.
yeah,
And
and
then after that, it's disease and injury and operations.
yep. Well,
You got a long way to go.
you've already made it. You've already made it past, and you're going.
Yeah, my wife's very disciplined around this stuff, and she's been doing Pilates as well as strength training,
Uh-huh.
and then she does her hikes. So she's really good shape. It's just I enjoy it. If I have time to do it, um, and I'm feeling good, I just like it. I
Yeah,
mean, the more you do it, the more you sort of like it because obviously after you work out, it's also just a great thing for your brain, especially if you get your pulse elevated, break a sweat, you're just going to be, in a good space. So,
yeah, and
mhm.
and you can't let Hans get out of shape.
I know we got to bring those guys back. Let me tell you something. Let
Actually, actually, that would be a hilarious follow-up sketch where they completely fell off the rails.
Well, if they come back on SNL, but we pad their suits, so they're really fat.
Yeah.
If you think I'm flat and flabby, think again. This is all muscle. Don't try to judge us. You should judge yourself. The judge and jury would look at your flabby pectorials. I would like to tie them into a bow and fit them under a loser tree at Christmas time. Look. You have
Oh my God.
so many double chins. You need a bookmark to find your mouth. I mean, it's just endless, ridiculous put downs. Who's the guy they think is at home watching it and going, "Oh, God, oh."
And it baffles me the way that you just come up with them right off the bat. It's just
Give me a topic. I'll do
yeah,
anything. Yeah.
it's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Dana, listen, I've had a blast just sitting and chatting with
Me
you.
too.
This
It
has
was
been
nice to chat. I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting.
well.
I did
Thank you. I
twice.
cannot let you go without you saying hello to my sister-in-law because she was like,
Is she here or just
no, just her name is Amanda. We all call her
Amanda?
Yoder. We all call her Yoder.
Yoder? Okay.
Yeah. So just say a hello to her out there
Does she
because
like
she's
any
definitely gonna be
particular
listening.
character?
She likes it. She loves them all. She is a Saturday Night Live fiend. She
Okay.
loves it.
All right. Here's church lady to Yoder.
Yoder. Yeah.
Well. Yoder. Hello to you. You've got a very interesting name, don't you? Probably a nickname. Who could have given you that nickname? Could it be Satan? Yeah, this is Hans of Hans and Franz. Hello, Yoda. Do you know how to Yoda? Yodel. Yoo-hoo. Don't be a loser. Don't be a girly man, girl, Yoda.
Oh man.
Oh, one more.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, this is Garth. I know your name's Yoda, but what's your real name? They told me it was Amanda, kind of like Amanda Pete Moss. Remember her? I don't know where I got that one from.
Oh man. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
doing this. This has been an absolute pleasure and just an honor to have you on the show. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Good luck to you, and keep. You got me inspired, but with creatine, I'm gonna try it. What's the name? Can I get it on Amazon delivered?
So if you go to 321podium.com/Wex Appeal, you get 25% off your order.
So 312podium.com.
321.
321.
So like 321 go, but 321podium.com and then /Wex Appeal. And I'll send you the link.
Okay. Yeah, send me the link.
But
Maybe I'll try
yes,
some.
If you're listening at home, ladies and gentlemen, the sponsor of the show, Podium Nutrition, you can go to 321podium.com/Wex Appeal and you get 25% off your order.
That's it. I mean, we read ads day and night, and that's what this whole thing's about.
And actually, this is better because I love, like, I can't stand just ad reads. They're just okay. I can tell you're reading, and like this is
right.
Like
yeah.
I like more. Hey, this is what we're talking about. And
well, someone yesterday, a younger person, about 40, told me, but the same result with creatine, mental and physical. Was very, very excited about it. So I'm predisposed already to try it. But yeah, send me that link and I'll support your sponsor.
Absolutely.
As I get more muscular, next time I'll be bigger in the frame.
All the muscles.
These are my actual sized hands. The creatine made them into monster hands. I could squeeze your puny neck and you would pass out. Sorry. And I could squeeze your puny neck and you would collapse and land in your own baby poop. There we go.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And, all the best, out there with my uncle. Like,
I will. I'm gonna go for some hikes with him.
Yeah, he keeps telling me to get out there because it's beautiful country out there, and I need to. I need to get out there.
It's nice. It's nice.
With a wife and 4 kids, we don't get away much.
That's right. Since you're in it right now, yeah.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Talk later.
You've been listening to the Wex Appeal podcast. Get connected by heading to Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Wex Appeal Podcast for more bonus buffoonery and to get the full Wex experience. Plus, make sure to subscribe on your podcast app today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for more barbells, beats, and buffoonery.